The question most prospective entrepreneurs ask is simple: which path builds more wealth? The answer they usually receive is emotional. Franchises are safer. Independent businesses are freer. Brands matter. Control matters. Risk tolerance determines everything. Those answers are incomplete. Wealth is not built by labels. It is built by cash flows, control rights, and exit options. To compare a franchise and an independent small business honestly, we have to stop talking about vibes and start talking about net present value. So consider a 5-year horizon, not because 5 years captures everything, but because most small businesses either stabilize, sell, or fail within that window. 5 years is where structure reveals itself. Start with the franchise. Opening a franchise typically requires a large upfront investment, franchise fees, build-out requirements, approved vendors, equipment standards, often a higher initial capital outlay than a comparable independent restaurant. In exchange, the franchise offers something specific: a pre-engineered system. Brand recognition reduces customer acquisition costs. Operating manuals reduce experimentation. Vendor relationships reduce procurement friction. Training reduces early-stage mistakes. Lenders often view franchises as lower risk, improving access to debt. From a cash flow perspective, this matters early. Franchises tend to open with higher initial revenue than unknown independents. Ramp-up is faster. Variance is lower. Failure rates are statistically lower in the first few years, but those cash flows come with permanent claims attached. Royalties skim revenue, not profit. Marketing fees are mandatory regardless of local performance. Technology fees persist. Compliance costs grow over time. Remodel requirements force reinvestment on the franchisor's timeline, not yours. These are not startup costs. They are structural taxes. When you discount 5 years of cash flows, these fees materially reduce net present value, especially because they scale with success. The better you perform, the more you pay. Now consider the independent restaurant. The independent operator starts with disadvantages: no brand, no national advertising, no standardized systems, more trial and error, higher early risk. Revenue ramps more slowly, variance is higher, failure risk is real. But the cost structure is different. There are no royalties, no mandatory marketing fees, no forced technology stack. Procurement is flexible. Pricing is discretionary. Branding is owned, not licensed. Every dollar of improvement accrues fully to the owner. Over 5 years, this difference compounds. If the independent business survives the early phase, its operating margins often exceed the franchised equivalent, not because it is better managed, but because fewer claims exist on the cash flow. This is where NPV diverges. The franchise produces smoother early cash flows, but bleeds value through ongoing extraction. The independent produces volatile early cash flows, but retains upside. Now introduce the discount rate. Franchise advocates implicitly use a lower discount rate. They value certainty, lower variance, predictability. That is rational for risk-averse capital. Independent operators implicitly accept a higher discount rate in exchange for control and optionality. Neither is inherently superior, but they produce different wealth trajectories. Now consider exit. This is where the comparison becomes stark. A franchisee does not own the brand. They own a conditional operating license. Transfer rights are restricted. Buyers must be approved. Sale prices are capped by system rules and comparable units. Franchise resales often trade at modest multiples of EBITDA, constrained by royalty, drag, and contract terms. The independent owner owns the brand, the goodwill, and the optionality. The business can be sold, franchised, expanded, or repurposed. The exit multiple reflects not just cash flow, but control. That control has value. In net present value terms, exit often dominates operating cash flow, especially over a 5-year horizon. This is where many franchise projections quietly fail. They focus on income, not equity. Now consider freedom. Freedom is not a philosophical category. It is an economic one. Freedom means pricing flexibility, supplier choice, labor strategy, hours, menu changes, cost-cutting, pivoting. Every constraint imposed by a franchisor reduces the option set available to the operator. Options have value, especially under uncertainty. That option value is invisible in early projections and decisive over time. So which builds more wealth? If the business underperforms, the franchise often does better. Lower downside variance, higher survival probability, more institutional support. If the business performs well, the independent almost always wins. Higher retained margins, greater exit value, full upside capture. From a 5-year NPV perspective, franchises optimize for median outcomes. Independents optimize for tail outcomes. This is the real trade-off. Franchises are wealth stabilizers. Independent businesses are wealth amplifiers. One is not safer. It is safer for lenders and franchisors. The other is not riskier. It is riskier for the operator but less extractive. Understanding this reframes the decision. The question is not, which is better? The question is, what kind of wealth are you building? Income now, with constraints later, or volatility early, with ownership preserved? Franchise systems are designed to scale brands, not maximize franchisee wealth. Independent businesses are designed to concentrate risk and reward in one place. Once you understand that, the 5-year projection stops being confusing. It becomes obvious. For continued institutional analysis of ownership structures, contracts, and wealth formation, subscribe.